What does it mean to be indigenous in Sri Lanka? Indigenous people are often defined as those with a pre-colonial history and those who have a distinct cultural, religious, linguistic, and genetic status to other populations in the country. But first, let's begin by clarifying a common misconception. That is, the difference between archaeological and scientific history and the cultural narrative of Sri Lanka. You see, the common belief by many people in the island is that the island was populated following the arrival of Vijaya about 2000 years ago, and that the descendants of Vijaya and the people he came with, the Sinhalese, being the indigenous people of Sri Lanka. Now, this has been disproven by archaeologists, scientists, geneticists, and various other groups of scientists. Moreover, archaeologists and anthropologists estimate that human inhabitants existed on the island as far back as 40,000 years or more. These numbers are derived from archaeological evidence from various cave networks such as the Fahin caves, Batadomba and the Beli Lena caves. So who are the indigenous people of Sri Lanka? The indigenous people of Sri Lanka are the Wanniyala Aeththo, commonly identified using a derogatory term, Vedda. The Wanniyala Aeththo of Sri Lanka are among the oldest intact cultures of the world. The Wanniyala Aeththo live all across the island, including in parts of Dambana, Ratugala, and the eastern coast. They maintain a hunter-gatherer agriculturalist lifestyle and have a deep spiritual connection to the land and the ecology of the island. They often describe themselves as being caretakers of the environment. Being the oldest inhabitants on the island, the Wanniyala Aeththo have significantly contributed to the cultural, linguistic, genetic, racial, and gastronomic landscape of our country. Is it any surprise, considering the Wanniyala Aeththo have been on the islands of Sri Lanka for at least 48,000 years, based on some scientific estimates? The Wanniyala Aeththo speak a unique language, which is not derived from a root language. Unlike Sinhalese, which can be traced back to earlier Indo-European languages such as Sanskrit and Pali. The indigenous language has deeply influenced the Sinhalese language through words such as Gala, Kakula, Atta, amongst others. If you're interested in learning more about the indigenous language of Sri Lanka, please watch my videos on that topic on our YouTube channel on Mataya or on Facebook. Now, the genetic contribution of the Wanniyala Aeththo are plainly visible in the physical and facial appearances of many Sri Lankans, regardless of their identified race. You would find features that anthropologists associate with Australoid populations in the facial features of many Sri Lankans, suggesting that it is highly likely that they have indigenous Sri Lankan ancestry, amongst others. Since the 1950s, the Wanniyala Aeththo have faced harassment through social stigma of their way of life and government policies that have limited their access to the forest, disrupting their way of life and their cultural identity. Despite these adversities, the Wanniyala Aeththo continue to fight for their rights and recognition of their invaluable culture. Understanding our ancestral, cultural, genetic connections to the Wanniyala Aeththo and preserving their culture is a vital first step towards understanding multiculturalism in Sri Lanka. If you want to know more about the Wanniyala Aeththo community, please consider visiting the YouTube channel Vadirata, presented by Dambana Vimalaratna, to understand more about Wanniyala Aeththo language, culture, and history. Thank you for watching this video.